Hi there, welcome to my Why I Enjoy Photography Part 2. This is going to be the second part of my Why I Enjoy Photography. I did another one previously, just before Christmas, but I thought it was about time I did another one. Plus, it's going to be very difficult for me to get out this week because I'm busy at work and the weather's not particularly good. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk you through some of my most memorable photo shoots, and I'm going to analyse one of my favourite shots from the day, and I might even drop in some behind the scenes information as well. So stay tuned, hope you enjoy this, and I'm going to tell you why I enjoy my photography. So the first video shoot that I'm going to talk about is not actually just one shoot, it's a series of 3 days over about 3 months. All at the same location, a place called Padley Gorge in the Peak District. Now you can see on the screen how beautiful this place is. It's a really attractive part of the world, but unfortunately for me it didn't end up very well on the first time that I visited there, because I set up the vlogging camera next to the river to film a little bit of a piece to camera, and the tripod fell over and submerged the camera in the river, and the camera died. So that put a complete scupper to that day's photography and filming, so I had to abandon that and go back a following day. So I film all of my vlogs on a Canon M50, which has been a really durable camera. It's fallen over several times and survived to tell the tale, but unfortunately going into the river really was the end of it. So I ordered a replacement, and 3 days later when it arrived, I returned to Padley Gorge to finish the video. But I quickly realised that it would look much better with autumn colours on the leaves. I still did get some good photographs like the one on the screen, of the classic millstone that people think of when they think of Padley Gorge, but I knew that I really would have to return later in the year to get the autumn colours. So I finished the video, but I knew that I would be returning later in the year. So straight away you can see what a difference the autumn leaves makes on the floor. Now this time I was a lot more careful with my positioning of the camera, especially because this was one of the first times I took my new gimbal out. So some of the shots you see in this video will be moving as if I've got a camera operator. Now I tend not to use my gimbal anymore as much because it's just so heavy to carry around, and with me having some trouble with my back, it's just I like to travel as light as possible. So I did feel that I had to take the millstone again, so I've taken this with the autumn colours from a slightly different angle. Now you might notice that on the millstone itself there are some leaves. Now this was done on purpose. When I had no leaves on the millstone, I didn't think it was quite as good. Because the millstone is a focal point, I wanted a few leaves on the millstone itself, so I arranged those in an attractive pattern so they weren't particularly overlapping, but they still looked fairly natural. But I did find that with many other locations that I'd scouted out when I visited in the summer, that they didn't look quite as good with the autumn leaves, because sometimes the canopy had opened and you saw more sky, and so some of the locations I thought would work well didn't. So I had to almost start again and find some new locations. So this is my favourite shot from this video. I'll talk you through it in a second, but firstly I just want to show you some alternatives of this same location. Firstly, I've got a landscape version of this location. Now I wasn't particularly happy with this because the tree at the top in the middle is just being cropped out, and I would prefer more of that to be left in the shot. But I will mention that down in the river are some leaves. Now they weren't there by accident. I did pick up a handful of leaves and throw them into the river just to give some interest. Then I did try a fairly fast shutter speed to freeze the water. Now this is a little bit controversial. Some people like to see the water as it is, and some people like to see moving water, so it's more blurred. So if you look at this shot and then compare it to this one with a slower shutter speed, the water is dragged out, and I actually prefer this kind of shot, and not everybody does. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. But what I do like about this shot, by putting it into portrait orientation, is it brings the viewer's eye more towards the waterfall and highlights that tree, which is now fully kept in the frame because it's in a portrait orientation. So I really like this one, and this is my favourite shot from this shoot. So another really memorable video of mine was Owl Under the Hedge, because one day we had a tawny owl under the hedge at the back of the paddock. My father-in-law noticed it and told me about it, so I went out with a camera and found myself a position in the gazebo at the end of the garden where I could get a really good view of it. It appeared that it was sitting on a bird that it had killed, and in the end it sat there for about 3 hours while I took its picture. So I'll let you into a little bit of behind the scenes about this shoot. I did film it over 2 days. The first day I was just literally taking shots of the owl, and what you see in the video is exactly the same order that it happened in real life, but I couldn't be talking to the camera and worrying about filming at the same time as taking photographs of the bird because I didn't want to scare it off. So when I recorded it a few days later, the video is exactly what happened, but just without the bird actually being under the hedge. I got a shot of the thrush that you've just seen on the screen, but a group of long-tailed tits also came and flew around the trees near where I was sitting, so I managed to get quite a few shots of those in a very natural environment. So I do like these shots that I've got of the long-tailed tits. So after about 3 hours getting extremely cold sitting watching the owl, it wasn't really doing very much except sitting on the bird that it had found. And so I decided that if I needed to get a better shot from where I wasn't really going to get it because I was slightly side on to the bird. So what I did is I very quietly and carefully started to edge myself towards the bird. And each time I took a step forward, I took another shot of the bird, and eventually I got to within about 5 meters of it and got this shot that is on the screen. It turned out I think it was asleep. Now, as I pushed my luck and just tried to get a little bit closer, the bird did wake up. Now, it wasn't particularly startled, it just basically turned around and walked off under the hedge. But this is not actually my favourite shot from the morning. In our paddock we have an apple tree, and when the apples fall onto the ground they attract fieldfare, and so we had quite a few fieldfare in the paddock that day, and here is one of those. And I do like the way that it shows off just how cold the day was, because you can see the frost and the snow on the ground. I got some of the fieldfare up in the tree, some of it eating the apples, and this is my favourite shot of the day. I just like the attitude of the fieldfare. I like the way that the frost on the grass is really crisp, and we've just got a hint of the apples down at the bottom of the frame. I just really like the way that this all holds together and really shows off this bird, and this is my favourite shot from this shoot. The third video that I'm going to talk about is my video from the roaches that I took last year. Now, I went there for the sunset, and that is really what is memorable about this video, but I didn't know that I was going to get such a good sunset when I started. I was there at about 7:15 with the sunset happening at about 9:15, so I'd got quite a bit of time to get to the location that I was thinking of. So on the way up to the location I was heading for, I did take this shot, which is one of my favourite shots from any of the shoots that I've done. I do really like it. It's very atmospheric. I like the cotton grass in the foreground, and especially that couple on the top of the hill that are just walking down the path really do help the mood. And shooting into the sun is a little bit controversial. Quite often if you put your photograph into a competition, a judge will say that you shouldn't shoot into the sun, but I really like it, and really all that matters is that you enjoy your own photography. Doesn't matter what a judge thinks. So when I arrived at the location, it didn't look like this. I didn't know that I was going to get so many good colours in the sky, but this is a place called Doxy Pool on the top of the Roaches, and you can see from these pictures that the sky did get really interesting. So it was just a case of finding the best composition. So I tried some different locations, put some different foreground objects into the frame. This one was too big. It was an experiment, but it doesn't really work because that rock is too dominant. I tried rocks in different positions and still keeping the sun and the sky in the frame, but eventually I landed on this composition, which is one of my favourites. I found it very difficult to actually choose just one. I like this one because of the simplicity of the grasses. Now at this point the sun was fairly low and the sky was getting a little bit darker, and some of the colour had actually gone out of the sky, but I still do really like this one. And then there's this shot that I composed quite carefully to get the sun and the colourful sky into the frame, but also the cotton grass. Now you can see it was actually quite windy because the cotton grass is moving, but that little bit of wood there that's just going into the pool is there on purpose. I did find that somewhere else and I positioned it on purpose to give a leading line, and you can also see that that piece of wood is pointing into the corner of the frame, which does help to lead you through the photograph. So those two are my favourite from this shoot. So the final video that I'm going to talk about is from Burton Mere almost 2 years ago. Now at the time I was not really very used to talking in front of people, and my presentation style was very flat, so it's a little bit embarrassing when I look back at this particular video, but it was just after the first lockdown that we had in England, so I was keen to get out and take some photographs. Obviously visiting a nature reserve you get to see lots of birds like ducks and Canada geese, but I also stopped and took some shots of insects, and this one was taken with my 200 to 500mm lens, so it was quite tricky to get the focus, but I do like the way that this one turned out. And I also noticed while I was stood by the reed beds that there was a wren flitting about. It must have been building a nest or something, so when I'd noticed it, it seemed to come back to this same stalk of reed and land on it, so I managed to get this shot. And I also, from this location, got to get a shot of a whitethroat as well, and I've never seen one of these before, so I was really pleased with that one. So this video is so memorable because a fox cub came and sat on the path only about 10 metres from where I was standing, and there was a couple of other people with me at the time as well. It was so tame because we think it was born during lockdown and had not really experienced humans before, but it was so comfortable that it lay down while it was watching us, and then it started preening itself, which was just amazing to watch. And then I got this shot, which is my favourite from the sequence, when it just sat and looked at us before walking off into the undergrowth. Well, I hope you found this video interesting, and I have put links to all the originals down below in the description. Let me know what you think. Do you want me to carry on making more videos like this, talking through my shoots and giving you some behind the scenes information, or would you prefer that I still just do my normal vlog styles? Watch out for my live stream that's coming soon. I can't guarantee when that'll be, but hopefully I want to try and do something fairly soon. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, let me know down below in the comments, or nip over to my Instagram account and leave me your comments there. Now, if you like what I do on the channel and would like to help support me make future content like this, you can also visit my Teespring store. There I've got a range of merchandise on offer, so go and check that out. And you can also click the super thanks button down below. But you don't have to spend any money at all to support the channel. You can do that simply by clicking like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because that really helps me out and it makes sure that you don't miss out on any future content. Watch out for next week's video. That goes live at 4 o'clock on Sunday. In the meantime, you can check out this video just up here, but all that's left now is to say stay safe and I'll see you soon.